Lovely.
Okay.
All right. Well, might as well start then.
Okay.
Just so everyone knows, I'm Aurora. I'm the Indigenous Initiatives Coordinator here at the College of Graduate and Postdoctoral Studies. And I've invited Peggy here today to speak to us about two of the major scholarships that have upcoming deadlines. So we're super grateful to have Peggy here to explain it all. Take it away.
Okay. Thank you, Aurora. Thank you, everyone who has joined us today. There will be a question and answer session at the very end, but of course, if you do have questions anytime during this presentation, just pop your hand up or make some sort of indication, and I'll be happy to answer any question you might have. So the first one we're going to talk about is our Indigenous Graduate Leadership Award. This is centrally funded, coming from funds that are provided by the university. Deadline for this is Monday, February 3rd at 4:30 p.m. Central Standard Time. Just a little details, all the good stuff about the award. The master's scholarship is $20,000 a year for up for 2 years, doctoral $25,000 for up to 4 years. And if you're a master's to PhD transfer student, you can hold it at the master's level and the PhD level. Please note that if you hold it at the master's level, you have to reapply for it at the PhD level before you get into your PhD program. So anyone who might be in that situation, just keep an eye on that. So the requirements for this is you have to be a First Nation status or non-status, Métis or Inuit. You have to be accepted into or registered into a master's or PhD program here at the university. So accepted into, you don't have to necessarily have started by the time of the application, but you do need to at least have put in an application and received an NSID and student number. You have to have a minimum GPA of 75%, so that's going to be either an entrance average or the cumulative of your grades in your current degree program. You have to have demonstrated leadership through community engagement, and you have to hold the award within the first 3 years, 36 months of a master's program, and within the first 60 months or 5 years of a PhD program. So, what does leadership look like? Well, there are a number of different things, and this is not an inclusive list. So, if you think that you are a leader through something that's not necessarily listed here, I recommend that you go ahead and apply for this scholarship because, as I like to tell students, if you don't apply, you have no chance worth of winning. But if you do apply, there is still a chance, and I highly encourage you to do so. So, are you a participant in your band counseling? Do you have community involvement? Entrepreneurial? Do you have leadership roles through your Indigenous community or your family? Do you do mentoring? Do you have academic leadership roles? Are you part of a student council? All sorts of things like that. So, as I said, this is not an inclusive list. If you have examples on here that you think, like if you have an example of leadership that you don't see on here, but you think would count, by all means, go ahead and apply. If you want to, you can always get in touch with us. Our email address is gradstudies.awards@usas.ca. It's going to be at the end of the presentation and also on the first page. But yes, we will answer any questions you might have concerning what leadership looks like. Now, what does an application look like? Well, we have an online application that you have to go in and you fill in your name, your student number, all that sort of good stuff so that we can identify you. You have to provide a written submission of how you meet the eligibility requirements, primarily what you are doing in your research program and your leadership. You have to provide an oral submission, so this can be audio or video, and you can use this to expand on how you meet the eligibility requirements. I don't, I encourage you not to make it basically a reading of your written submission. Use this to kind of fill in the gaps that you couldn't put on that one-page submission. And as it says on here, we do respect and honor the oral traditions of Indigenous communities. If you want to include drumming, dancing, singing, talking, or presenting of cultural items, we very highly encourage you to do so, please. We're going to need two letters of reference. One needs to come from your community. The other one needs to be an academic reference. A one-page summary of your contributions to research and or scholarly work. So what kind of research are you doing? Have you been doing? If you have any presentations, publications, other types of knowledge dissemination, please include those. Excuse me. And we need photocopies of official transcripts from all other universities that you have attended. However, you can provide unofficial transcripts for your classes here at the University of Saskatchewan. Your reference letters need to be submitted confidentially, so please have them sent to gradstudies.awards. Ask your references to make sure that they put your name and the name of this award in the letter so we know exactly who to match the letter up to. And as for the oral submission, please make it a MP4 or an MP3 in either a video and an audio. We encourage you to use YouTube because it seems to be the easiest sharing platform that we have out there. And there is a place on the online application where you can include the link for YouTube. However, if you don't want to bother with that, you can absolutely get in touch with us at gradstudies.awards@uss.ca, and I'll provide you with a link where you can upload your presentation confidentially. Nobody else will see it. You upload it, I download it, I make sure only the committee sees it. So that is a very quick summary of the Indigenous Graduate Leadership Award. Does anyone have any questions so far?
Good morning.
Good morning. Yes.
Good morning, Peggy. Good morning, Aurora. Thank you very much for the presentation. My name's Harini.
Hmm.
I'm a co-supervisor for the Liptmalaman doctoral cohort, where
Hmm.
we have 10 students from Te Kemlitz um, moving into their second year of your doctorate. And so I'm here to learn about what they might be able to apply for. Really
Hmm.
timely. Thank you.
Lovely.
So I've popped some questions in the chat box.
Okay. I don't see the chat box from where I am. Aurora, would you mind reading any of those?
For
I can
sure.
read them if you want, or but
That
yeah,
would be lovely if you don't mind.
myself or Aurora, do you want to, or would you like me to?
Why don't you? They're your questions.
Okay, thank you. So the first one was, will the PowerPoint be available, please?
Absolutely. So
Great.
I will give it to Aurora. You can also email me at the email address that I've been saying over and over, and I will email it to you directly. All the links in here are live, so anything that you see that is green and italicized, those are live hyperlinks that will take you exactly where you need to go on this,
Thank you.
of
Thank you very
course.
much. And the balance of my questions are ones which I think may come up from the students with whom I work.
Mhm.
So thank you. Um, is there one Indigenous Graduate Leadership Award to be awarded?
There are multiple ones. So it depends on I think we have $200,000 to give out. We usually do it based on the percentage of how many PhD and master's applications we get. So if we get, say, 5 masters and 5 PhD, we will split the awards 50-50 across the applications.
Thank
So
you.
yes, multiple awards.
Okay. TPA, what advice do you have about students doing PhD courses with pass-fail rather than grades? So we're actually working as a cohort, and the group what are committed to, having excellent results. But we've also been thinking about ways in which we could decolonize some of our practices, knowing that we're still within the university system as such.
Mhm.
So I wondered if you had some advice that, because this question might come up.
Exactly. Um, we do request a minimum of 75%, but we also look at the entire academic body of what the student does holistically. So it will not just be transcripts. It will also be based on, say, like the academic reference. They could possibly say that, although student A has a 70 in one class, this is actually an extremely good grade for that particular class. So we will be looking at the whole package rather than just bits and pieces of it.
Thank you. Who assesses the eligibility requirements?
The eligibility requirements were put in place by our awards adjudication committee, who are also the ones who review and adjudicate the applications when they come in. Um, I'm not quite sure what other information are you thinking about? Our
To be
I'm
el to
sorry.
be No, it's all right. To be eligible for the Indigenous Graduate Leadership Award, you need to be Indigenous. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Thank you. We only pick Indigenous students for this award. And as part of the Indigenous Truth Policy here on campus, we do request that the recipients verify their membership with the Office of Indigenous Engagement. So we will have that
Okay.
part built in as well.
Perfect. Okay. And so these students that Andrew and I work with, they've have done that too. So that's great. Thank
Mhm.
you. Um, and and who's on the assessment committee?
The assessment committee is made up of various members from the general faculty population of the campus. They're all volunteers for this, though
Yes.
we also do bring self-identified Indigenous faculty members in to also look at these through an Indigenous lens.
Thank you. What happens to the oral submission after it's been assessed?
Once the competition is finished, it is deleted.
Thank you. And what would be your advice about what to include in the letters of reference as community members or as academic reference letter provider?
So the academic reference, I would highly recommend that the person talk about the student's academic performance, their research, either research they have done in the past or um, how they are geared for upcoming research. So even research in the future. Um, how they are as, excuse me, basically how they are overall as students. So that can be academic, that can be research, that can also be academic leadership if the student also has that. So if they take charge of projects or labs or something like that. The leadership reference should talk not entirely, but primarily about the student's leadership within the community. So whether it is directly within their Indigenous community or if say they have entrepreneurship, it should talk about that.
Okay. Thank you very much for your help with those questions.
You're quite
Thank you.
welcome. It's my pleasure. I saw another hand up, but I'm not sure if that person is still here. Does anyone else have any questions? Is it Layla? Layla, I'm sorry you're muted.
That's okay. Zoom's complicated.
Yes,
While Layla's trying to figure that out, I just did have one question, Peggy.
of course.
When we're talking about the community reference letter, just to clarify, like that doesn't specifically have to be from their, say, their registered band or their Métis local or anything like that. It can be from work that they've done in like multiple other different communities as well.
Absolutely. It does not necessarily have to be from the applicant's band.
Fantastic.
Yes. Layla, it looks like you're muted. If you wouldn't mind putting your question in the chat and then we can get to that. It also might be that she is stuck.
Um, Oh, there we go.
Yes.
Oh,
No, maybe not.
maybe not quite.
Sorry, seems like you're still having technical troubles.
Oh, there we go in the chat.
Okay, excellent. I can't see the chat, so would you mind reading that out, Aurora?
Sure. It says, so for the summary of contributions to research, what are you looking for?
So we take tri-agency. So tri-agency is a federal scholarship granting agency. It also provides scholarship funding to many students across campus, and they have very clear guidelines on what research productivity looks like. And they're moving more away from the stereotypical publish in a journal, present at a conference sort of thing. They're calling it research. No, they're calling it knowledge distribution. So that can also be, have you done an information presentation to a group of students in a high school? Or have you, excuse me, have you done like an online review of a journalistic piece of work or an artistic contribution? Have you um have you done a like a just a PowerPoint presentation to, say, members of your band or another group? So it's not just like I said, it's not just the stereotypical journals and conference presentations. It can pretty much be any type of information that you have dispersed out there.
So, Layla said, would collaborating with an IGO work?
I'm not sure what an IGO is. Could I get a definition on that?
Hi, yeah, I figured out my microphone.
Yay.
Welcome.
Okay, so for like the IGO, I worked with the what was it, Saskatchewan International Council of Cooperation.
Mhm,
And basically they publish these kind of booklets on information on the Sustainable Development Goals. And I did one of the sections. So would I be
mhm.
able to use that even though it wasn't like recent? It was in my first year of university.
Oh, yes, it doesn't have to be like within the last two or three, excuse me, last 2 or 3 years. It could be from any time in your academic or non-academic careers.
Okay,
So
perfect.
yes,
Thank you.
as long as there's, excuse me, as long as it is something that you yourself have researched and presented in some form. So, I mean, you can't say that, I did this publication and someone just handed me copy that I typed up.
Yeah.
Get what I mean?
Yeah.
But
All right.
yes, yep, absolutely. That is perfectly acceptable.
Perfect. Thank you.
You're very welcome. Anybody else? Okay, I'm going to move on to the next award, which is the Saskatchewan Lieutenant Governor's Indigenous Scholarship. You may have heard of this under another name as the Queen Elizabeth II Scholarship. Very recently, with the passing of Queen Elizabeth, they have decided to rename and revamp the scholarship program. So the deadline for this one is Monday, February 28th of this year at 4:30 p.m. Central Standard Time. It's open to master's or doctoral students, and it is a $20,000 award that you would hold for 1 year. Again, you must be a First Nations, Métis, or Inuit student. You must have already graduated from a Saskatchewan university. So if you did your undergraduate at University of Saskatchewan, University of Regina, then you can apply for this. Of course, must be a Canadian citizen, must reside in Saskatchewan, have an undergraduate degree, all the lovely stuff on here.
Um,
Um,
Sorry, question. Does
yes,
First Nations University also work for that?
absolutely.
Lovely.
Yes. I don't know all, and I apologize for this. I don't know all the First Nation specific universities in Saskatchewan. So if there are others besides the First Nations, yes, those are acceptable as well.
Awesome, thank you.
Um, Now, one thing you want to look at is you have to be in either a thesis or a project-based master's. Course-based programs are not eligible, unfortunately. Bonus points will be given if you are in a field of study that supports the Saskatchewan Growth Plan. And also if you are in the early stages of your degree or if you have not won substantial awards. And that is approximately $27,000 at the master's level and $40,000 at the PhD level for those. Excuse me. I will put the link on here for the Saskatchewan Growth Plan before I send this out to anybody, so you all have that information as well if you want to see if you match up with that. So again, like the Indigenous Graduate Leadership Award, we have an online application collector where you would put in your name, identifying information, etc. There's an application form, an additional application form that you need to fill out that is focused more on what your research is, your awards, and those types of details. They are looking for a one-page outline of your thesis or project, and they want your official transcripts from all universities attended, including transcripts where you've received transfer credit. You must also provide 2 letters of reference and the required reference form that you can also download from their website. And these can be sent confidentially to gradstudies.awards@usass.ca. So, and that is it for the Indigenous graduate, the Governor General, too many words, I apologize. Lieutenant Governor's Indigenous Scholarship. I'm going to speak very briefly on the Indigenous Truth Plan. We will require that students prove their um, membership in, I don't want to say anything improper, so please forgive me if I do. We want to make sure that the applicants are truly Indigenous students. So we will ask you, if you haven't already, to verify your membership with the Office of Indigenous Engagement. It is not something you have to do right now. But if you haven't and you are chosen for one of these scholarships, you will have to do this process. Now, you can go to these links and see what the process is. And if you have any questions about that process, please contact them at indigenoustruthpolicy@usass.ca. And we are at the end of the presentation. Short and sweet. Do you guys have any other questions? Anything whatsoever?
Looks pretty quiet out
It
there.
does. So I do want to say one thing, and this is concerning transcripts. If you had to provide transcripts from another university as part of your degree program application, I can probably access those to you and provide them back to you so you don't have to order additional copies. So if you would like me to do this for you, just email me at thegradstudies.awards. Provide me with your name and your student number or NSID and the names of the universities you are looking for. And then I will go and pull those transcripts, put them up into a nice little package for you, and send them to you. I cannot access your University of Saskatchewan transcripts, unfortunately. You will have to get those for the Lieutenant Governor Indigenous Scholarship. For the Indigenous Graduate Leadership Award, we're only asking for unofficial USAS transcripts for that. But just to let you know that that service is available if you want it.
Awesome. Well, if nobody has any other questions, I think I'll end this meeting pretty soon here. I just wanted to remind everyone that there is also an Inspire Awards info session next week with Talia Bomberry. and you'll be able to register for that through the newsletter as well. That's some really great funding to access and a pretty simple application. So thank you so much, Peggy. That was super helpful.
You're very
And
welcome. I do have one more thing to say, Aurora, and
yeah,
I'm glad that you added that little bit. We do have an Indigenous Recruitment Award that's going to be coming out. I unfortunately don't have many details on it other than the fact that it is going to be, the deadline is going to be sometime within this term. And when we announce it, we're going to send the information to all graduate students to their NSID email addresses. So keep an eye out for that in your email inbox.
awesome. All right, I'm gonna stop this recording.